many of you grew up in the 1950s or 60s? If so, you may remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Or perhaps you had children who watched the educational television show in the 70s and 80s. For every show, if you'll remember, Mr. Rogers would begin the program with his changing into his cardigan and sneakers, feeding the fish, and introducing the topic for the day. There was music, the land of make-believe, and always, always interesting visitors. With the 50th anniversary of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Fred Rogers continues to touch the lives of so many of us still today. What many people may not know is that Fred Rogers earned an undergraduate degree in music composition, was an ordained Presbyterian minister, and attended classes at the University of Pittsburgh Graduate School of Child Development. In fact, I didn't realize that all those years when he was filming Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, it was in Pittsburgh. His call to work with children and families through mass media changed so many lives. For over more than 30 years, Fred Rogers created a relationship with millions of children. His radical kindness, acceptance, and empathy created a place that TV Guide once described as making us, and I quote, young and old alike, feel safe, cared for, and valued. Wherever Mr. Roger is, so is sanctuary. Think about it. Wherever Mr. Roger is, so is sanctuary. What is simple faith? And do I have it? And how can I experience simple faith? One of the first things that you should learn about Fred Rogers is that he spoke slowly all the time and believed in allowing you a time to quietly reflect. So, I would like you right now to take 15 seconds to do absolutely nothing. Just sit where you are quietly and begin to slow down your life. Just slow it down. Don't think about what's waiting for you, what you've left behind. Maybe it's work, family, a meal to prepare, errands to run, appointments to make. We're going to slow it down. And I want you to take 10 deep breaths. Mr. Rogers would say, 15 seconds, I'll watch the clock. You just breathe. Here we go. Fred Rogers, when he finished college, actually thought he would go immediately into seminary, but then he didn't. And instead, he went to work for this new medium called television. But it was clear to him that that wasn't what he was called to do. And so he went back to school, and that's when he began to study some graduate studies in child psychology and to take some courses in the seminary. He's always been extraordinarily faithful. In fact, his morning routine, get up every morning to the day he died, having his own private devotion time. And then he would go swimming, which was also part of his way of getting in touch with God in prayer. He met his wife in college, Rollins College, and they married right after college, and were married and devoted to one another their entire lives. They did have children, and they had a home up in the Martha's Vineyard area, as well as the home in Pittsburgh, and at the ends of their days, that's where they spent most of their time. In fact, the children, and as they grew up and would come back to visit, they would see there would be Fred Rogers walking along the beach just like any other person, taking the time to have conversations with children and adults alike.